Hello again everyone, and welcome back to Otherworldly Encounters, where you can submit your NDE, OBE, spiritual or paranormal story to my email address, noted here, and in the description section of this channel as well. No need to use your real name, you can submit anonymously and I will do my best to create a video with your story. Today we have one that comes from Suzzette, who had several dreams, which led her to adopt a particular lifestyle, and would like to share how she has planned for the future in response to these dreams. She has always felt that her story was meant to be shared, and was happy to come across this channel, which has afforded her the opportunity to do so. I am 63 years old. I grew up on a very large dairy farm in upstate New York with my parents and 9 siblings. My mother and the 5 girls were active Christians. My dad and brothers never had time to go to church with us. Work on the farm consumed our lives and it was a beautiful life. When I was about 8 years old, I was daydreaming in our kitchen, and the house was quiet, which was very unusual with 9 siblings. The thought came to me that the police would come to our farm and ask my mother if my 5 brothers had rolled large boulders off a hilltop onto a road below. As I sat thinking about this, and why did I ever think that, there started a commotion of people talking. And unusual voices coming from outside, in front of our tool garage. I went to investigate, and found my mother and 5 brothers, all talking to some policemen, who came to our farm. They were questioning my brothers, to see if they had pushed rocks off a high ridge, onto a highway, near Schenectady, New York, some 40 miles away. My brothers had all been working on the farm, and were not involved in that situation. However, what was so amazing to me at the time was that situation was exactly what I had just daydreamed. I am 9th in the family, and being young, no one but my mom really believed me when I told them the daydream. I remember that I finally decided not to tell any more of my siblings because they didn't believe me. I remember thinking for weeks, why did that happen like that? Why to me? Now, looking back, I believe it was to prepare myself to trust and believe the inspiration that comes to my mind, even though I was young. In fact, I had several of these phenomenons happen to me in a short period of time. It was during this time that I had a vivid dream. Who remembers a dream from when you were 8, 55 years ago? It was so vivid that I can still see the scenes as they played out. My dream took place in the evening, just before dark. All of my brothers, sisters, and my parents were all walking slowly around the farm and the barn area. We had a 300-foot long dairy barn, and the 300-foot haymow was filled with hay and grains for our cows, as well as different types of grains that had been harvested for feed over the winter and to be used as seed in the spring for next year's crop. I thought it unusual that we were all outside this time of day, as we had worked from sunup, and we would normally be in the house eating dinner and preparing for early bedtime to begin again the next day. It was then that I realized we all had long guns, rifles, and were actually patrolling our farm to protect it from people who were coming to kill our cows, to eat them, and to steal our grain, because there was no food left to buy in stores. It was a very dangerous situation, and we were hiding and concealing ourselves so no harm would come to us, as we protected our animals and food. In this dream, I understood that these people were coming out of big cities, and were very hostile. Again, this was highly unusual, because my mother was always feeding and helping people and families, almost on a daily basis, at our farm. We were also very well known in the surrounding counties. The 5 boys were born first, then the 5 girls. Our farm was very large, and we owned a lot of acreage and equipment. Everyone loved us, and we constantly had visitors all the time at the farm. So patrolling with guns was extremely serious to me. I remember watching one brother hiding behind a piece of equipment, then, at the right moment, he ran behind a corn crib building with his rifle in hand. Another brother laid low in a drainage ditch near the main barn doors with his gun up and ready. The dream concluded. I knew this would happen during my lifetime. I did not feel it was imminent. I also knew that it would happen shortly before the time of Christ's return. So through my entire life, I have tried to respect God for giving me this dream, and live my life accordingly. I went to a Christian college, and studied courses on the Bible, but was most interested in anything to do with the last days and the book of Revelation. My husband was from New York City, but I wanted to raise our children on a farm upstate, to be independent and to grow our own food. I wanted my children to know how to handle a gun and how to hunt for food. I always had large gardens to prepare myself to learn how to grow food, for a time when it would not be available. Along with a oil furnace, we had a wood stove. I wanted my children to learn how to harvest our own wood and heat our home. I used it frequently to practice cooking with wood heat, for a time when there would not be fuel. I homeschooled my children so that I could educate them as Christians and also teach them how to be independent and responsible for their lives, not having to rely on outside sources for food and heat and protection. We traveled all over, learning about our beautiful country and where we wanted to live, as things in the world would begin to fall apart as the second coming drew closer. Today, I live in a small home that I built with a contractor 15 years ago. I wanted to build on rock, not on sand. The home is built on bedrock, up and out of the valley. I have a gravity-fed well that needs no electricity. My home is run on solar power and propane for the kitchen stove and hot water heater. I have a propane wall heater that I don't use, as all my heat comes from my wood stove. I cook on it daily. I shut off my hot water heater in the winter and use a large stockpot on the wood stove for all my hot water. I am not hooked to the grid and live on a beautiful road with no power lines. I have been preparing physically and spiritually for Christ's return. I raised my kids to be preppers and watch for the signs of the times. For years, as gifts for birthdays and holidays, I would give useful tools, 72-hour kits, food storage items, or the latest solar technology gadget. We don't know exactly what will happen or when it will happen. I have tried to respect God and living my life in a manner to prepare for what He showed me. I feel I will be helping many people, both physically to stay alive and also spiritually, to retain hope amid the great conflict we will live through. A few months ago, I purchased firewood from a man to add to my wood supply. Shortly into the conversation, I felt impressed that I should tell him about my dream. When I told him that, he chuckled and said, "You tell me about your dream, and I will tell you about mine." So I told him about my dream, and he said he had goosebumps running up the back of his spine. Then he told me about his dream. He's in his 60s, and this happened to him about 15 years ago. He is a small farmer in southern New York State. There is a large hill outside his home. From the top, he can overlook the Catskill Mountains. His dream took place in the evening. When he looked out from his home, he noticed many small campfires on the side of this hill. He went outside, and as he walked up the hill, he noticed there were people standing around these campfires, cooking food. When he got to the top of the hill, he could see for many miles that the tops of the mountains were dotted with all these campfires. Suddenly he realized that these people were eating his cows and cooking them on the fires. He knew that they had walked north from the cities to find food because there was no food in stores. He said he woke up with a scream, and his clothing and bed were totally soaked with sweat. It woke everyone up in the house. He had never had a dream like that before, and he has never had one since. He said, "I guess you can call me a prepper too." What did you think of Suzette's story? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed her story, please give it a like and subscribe, which is free and will help this channel grow, and hit the bell icon so you can receive a notification when I release a new video, and remember to send your stories to the email address that you will see at the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will come back and visit again soon.